Well, hello there. Thank you for joining me on my trans life update video for November 2021. I'm also kind of calling it the ramblings and rantings of a trans woman because I will be doing some rambling, I will be doing some ranting, and I will be covering a variety of topics ranging from my HRT update to my experience taking LSD for the first time as a trans woman and my obligatory rant on Dave Chapelle. So if you want to just click on any particular one of those topics, I will put timestamps for each topic in the description below. Now, join me on the other side of this little intro. Alright, welcome back. Let's get into my rambly update video. Couple programming notes. First off, for those of you who do follow my channel, who might have seen my HRT update from October last month, I said, next month I'm going to do this whole video where I talk about what it feels like when comedians or artists that I loved turn into transphobes. How does that make me feel? And I wanted to do that video. I just don't have the energy for a video like that. There's a lot involved in that. Perhaps one day I will do something like that, but not this day. I am going to address the whole Dave Chapelle thing at the end of this video, as I mentioned before, but not in the more broader sense that I was going to do this whole thing about just comedians and artists that turned out to be transphobic or homophobic. Not going to get into all that. Just going to kind of do my rambly thoughts about that whole nonsense because I don't know. Probably have to. Isn't it my obligation as a trans person on YouTube? I don't know. Anyways, let me go ahead and jump into it. I'll start with an update to last month's update when I was talking about my HRT and my hormones. In case you don't know what HRT stands for, hormone replacement therapy. I talked about last month how I started progesterone, and my goal is to increase my breast size without having to get a surgery. And I have to give a really big shout out to Liz Fahey Scott, who has been a fan of not only this channel, but going back to my previous channel before I transitioned, Acton Tomko's channel. She's one of the people who followed me over, who I really appreciate, but she made a funny little joke on the last video where I kept saying, talking about how I want to have developed my breasts, and I kept saying, yeah, we shall see. And she said, well, the way you kept saying we shall see, I think that you probably have to demonetize your video, meaning that I'm going to actually show you. I'm not going to. No, don't worry about that. This is a family video. This is not really, but no, I'm not going to do that. I may show you my cleavage if I ever have cleavage to show, but I don't at this point. However, my update is that there's progress being made. Things are happening. So the progesterone and the increased estradiol seem to be making a difference. December is when I will have my estradiol levels checked. So next month, and I'll see how things are going then. The next step before I jump into surgery is I may switch to injections of estradiol and see how that goes. I might go ahead and start the process for surgery because it takes a long time anyways. So, but we'll see. We'll see. And no, not we'll see my breast, but we'll see what happens, okay? But maybe you get to see the cleavage. I don't know. We'll see. I keep saying that. All right. So the other thing I just kind of wanted to talk about here is just how things are going, and I just wanted to tell a little bit of a story. So I had a recent experience I wanted to share with you. Well, there's one thing that I'm really, really into more than I am into Star Trek or Game of Thrones or anything else that I've ever covered on my YouTube channels that I don't cover on my YouTube channels, and that is the band Fish. And I thought about trying to cover them at the same time, but it's like there's not a lot of crossover between the two groups. There is between the Star Trek group and the the fish group. It just seemed like a weird thing, and also quite honestly, like I almost am more afraid to talk about my love of that band than I am about being transgender, because there's almost more of a stigma for that amongst a certain group of people. It's like there's very much a stigma. Fish fans and deadheads are just thought of as these flaky hippie whatever, like dumbass people. There was some fucking show I was watching recently. I can't remember even what show it was, but they had one of the female characters went on a date with a fish fan, and it was not flattering. And that's just how people view it. And I get that at that outsider's perspective. Fish is just one of those things you either get or you don't get. And some people don't get it for a long time and then get it later on. There are people who it takes them a while. And really the only way to get it is to go to see them live. And that does not guarantee that you're going to get it. I've known people who went to see them live and hated every second of it. So, but people get it. And I recently went to see them in Vegas over Halloween weekend. They played 4 nights. I regrettably skipped the first night. I only went to 3 of the nights. I wish I went to all 4. But I could only take so much time off of work. Anyways, what does this have to do with my my trans identity? A lot, actually. Because this is actually the second time I went to see some fish shows since I transitioned. I went to see them in August as well, and it is overall a really amazing community to be trans, especially the fish chicks. I'm not fish sticks, the things you eat, but fish chicks, the ladies. I belong to a couple of Facebook groups involving the fish chicks, and they're just the most amazing, welcoming ladies there are. And the ladies' rooms in the fish shows are like no other ladies' rooms. It's so, I just can't even describe the experience. It's really uplifting. Like, they're just amazing ladies, and the community as a whole is just really amazing. And I think that's what people who make fun of fish or don't get it, one of the things they don't get, that it's not just about seeing a band play a whole bunch of times, although that is part of it, because they do vary their set list every single time. In fact, they're varying their set list more now than ever before. But it's the whole experience, the community between the band and the audience, and between members of the audience, and just everything about it. And it's just hard to describe to people who haven't been there. So can't describe it in words, but it has always been a very special experience for me. So I went to these shows, and what happened there is the first time that I have done LSD since I have transitioned, and that's not something I usually do a lot these days. But I wanted to see what it was like. Now, if you've never done LSD, again, that's another thing that's hard to describe, but I've had a lot of problems with it when I've tried to do it in an older age, because it does, for me at least, I am very much internal, so I'm in my head a lot. And if you're in your head a lot and things are not going well in your head, LSD amplifies all that, and it can, not be fun. So I was a little hesitant to do it after transitioning. Like, what if somebody comes up and does something or says something transphobic to me? Is that going to really throw me off? That sort of thing. But what it ended up doing was really, really being gender affirming. Like, it really amplified what I already knew to be true, that I am deep down at the very core of my soul female, despite what I was assigned at birth, despite what I had to pretend to be throughout my whole life, that I am finally right. I am right the way that I am supposed to be. And it was very, very profound, and a very positive experience. Now, I understand that there will be people who may stumble across this video who will view all of that as me being mentally ill, because there's already people who think that just being trans, you're mentally ill. There's also probably people who think going to fish or doing LSD, you're mentally ill. I get that, but I think it's hilarious that there are people who think that they are qualified to diagnose mental illness without having gotten a their degree or their license in therapy or psychology. And even if you have, you can't really diagnose people you've never actually met in person. So I just love how there's all these armchair psychologists all over the country now, like Ben Shapiro, who can say that trans people are mentally ill. How about this? So I got comments on one of my videos recently that I deleted that was like 8 long paragraphs about how I need to find Jesus Christ in my life. So how about you don't diagnose me for being mentally ill because I'm trans or because I do LSD and I'm trans. And I won't diagnose you for being mentally ill for writing 8 long paragraphs about an invisible man in the sky. Not only that, but how you need me to love this invisible man in the sky who no one has ever seen and really can prove exists. That's kind of problematic. So how about you leave me alone and I'll leave you alone and we can just all do our own thing and all be happy in our own thing. How about that? Anyway, see, I told you this was going to be rambly. The point is, this was a very positive experience. And I did end up, being misgendered once during the weekend. But I was just in such a high place, just so not literally, I actually wasn't high when I was confronted with being misgendered. But I mean, just a euphoric place, like very happy place, content actually, that I was able to let it roll off. And it was just some dude who was insisted on calling me man and bro. He was like, got your back, bro. And like, I just introduced myself as Alyssa. I'm presenting as female. Why would you call somebody like that, bro? But it was annoying, but it wasn't soul crushing like I thought it might be, which is good. Unfortunately, being misgendered as a part of being trans. I can consider myself fortunate that it hasn't happened all that often because I live in a place that is generally LGBTQ friendly, and then I hang out in places like fish shows that generally are LGBTQ friendly. So it doesn't happen a whole lot for me. I can be thankful for that. When it does happen, it sucks. It's a part of being trans. But in this particular case, because I was in such a great mood, I was able to just kind of let it roll off my back. But I don't want to pretend like that's a thing that never happens, because it most certainly is. But it still ended up being overall a very positive experience for me. Okay, speaking of positive experiences, I do want to talk about one more thing that I've been experiencing lately that is really positive. I kind of alluded to this earlier about the fish chicks and the ladies and the amazing ladies rooms. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. Like I'm serious. Like the ladies rooms and fish shows, amazing. But so I alluded to this, but I have realized lately. I was thinking about this. I was talking to one of my female friends. And talking through this, and just how I am able to reconnect with my female friends in ways that I was not able to connect with them before, and also connect with new female friends in the way I was not able to before, because I realized I used to try to connect with women as women subconsciously, and I really wanted to be able to connect with them that way. But I couldn't because I was read as male, and there's certain connotations of, as cis hetero male, that's how I was read. There's always, this underlying, what is his motivation? What is he really doing? Like, that's always an underlying thing. So there was no way that I could relate to women the way that I wanted to before, because that's not how I was read. But now that I am being read as female, by these women, then I can connect the way that I want to. And it's pretty freaking amazing. I have to say, it's really freeing, it's really liberating, and I love it. And I love, you know, female energy, and I love connecting with the ladies. Now, as for my male friends, I have male friends that I will always be friends with, forever and ever. But I think as far as new friends go, I'm definitely making more connections with female friends, and also just kind of reinventing some people that I wasn't super close with that I'm becoming super close with now, because I can connect with them in a different way. So this is pretty awesome. So overall, this update is pretty positive. But I did say I wanted to talk about the Dave Chapelle nonsense, so I'm going to leave the positive for a minute and get into this BS. Okay, so one of the reasons I decided not to do the original video I was planning to do, because I felt like if I was going to do a more in-depth video, then I should probably watch the Netflix special. Other than just, I've seen the clips, I've seen the parts where he says transphobic things. I'm talking about Dave Chapelle, of course. But yeah, I felt like, well, if I'm going to do an in-depth video, I should watch the whole thing. And I decided I don't want to. Like, I don't want to subject myself to that. I'm frankly tired of cis people telling me that I need to watch the whole thing so I can see the whole context, and I can, hear his whole point of view and see that it's more complicated than that. You know what? Fuck that. Like, no, I'm tired of this being framed as both sides' issue. Either you have the right to exist, or maybe the other side says you don't. Who knows? It's 50-50. You need to be open-minded about the fact that maybe you don't have the right to exist, and maybe you are trash. So you need to hear that out. No, I don't. I absolutely do not. I don't care what the rest of the context is. I have seen enough to know that the words coming out of his mouth are harmful to the trans community. And even if somehow this is made better by the rest of the context, most people aren't seeing the whole context. It is harmful to trans kids who are trying to find their way in the world. Believe me, I know. Because I was one once and I had no idea what trans was, and all of this bullshit in the media really fucked me up for life. I did a whole video about this. You should check it out. It's called How Media Affected My Trans Identity. I'll put a link at the end of this video. Anyways, so there are trans kids right now struggling with their coming out and being trans in this world, and having this really popular comedian making fun of them, and then there's uproarious laughter from the audience. Like, that is harmful. I don't care what the rest of the context is, and I'm tired of cis people telling me that I need to see the whole context. Fuck no, I don't. I do not. So it is harmful, period. It is harmful to the trans community. Now, at the same time, I kind of feel a little sad for Dave Chapelle. So and one of the things I was going to talk about in this other big long video I was going to make about this topic was that I loved the Dave Chapelle show. Not only the Dave Chapelle show, but there was one particular comedy special that he did. I believe it was on HBO way back in the day. The one where he does the jokes about the Sesame Street characters is fucking hilarious. And the Dave Chapelle show was just pure genius. It is one of the, I can still think back on it now and still think it is pure genius. But something happened when he quit the Dave Chapelle show. I don't know the details because I never really dove into the details. I know he went off to South Africa or something like that, and it sounded like he was struggling with some mental health issues. I am not one who tries to dive into the personal business of celebrities. I'm sure that information is out there. I did not seek it out because I try to respect people's privacy as much as possible. It must be hard being a public figure and having, if your struggles with mental illness out in the public. I don't know if that's what it was, but it was definitely, there was something going on. And I do know that since that time, he quite frankly, he's not been very funny. And I'm not even talking about because of his transphobia and homophobia. I'm talking about just in general, he's not as funny as he used to be. And if I were to describe him in a word, it would be bitter. Like, I just feel like it's more like he's getting something off his chest. And over the years, when I have watched his comedy specials since then, I've actually agreed with a lot of what he says when he's not being transphobic or homophobic. He has said some things that resonated with me, but it's still not funny. Like, he's not funny anymore. He's just like this angry person going up on stage and venting. Like, he's sorry, he hasn't been funny in 16 years. Don't know what to tell you. So there's something going on. And again, speaking of not diagnosing people that you don't know, I can't diagnose it. I don't know what it is. One of my favorite YouTubers, Samantha Lux, recently said, Jesus, dude, what trans person broke your heart that you feel the need to do all of this? And I don't know specifically that that's what it was, but something is going on when you spend so much of your time bashing other people. Like, what is wrong? Something is wrong. Like, that is not a healthy, normal thing that people do. And I saw a meme from a Facebook friend who I immediately deleted. It was a former coworker, where there was a little blurb about how Dave Chapelle was making a point that when anyone makes fun of LGBTQ white people, then everybody freaks out. But when you do the same thing to black people, nobody does anything, which first of all is total nonsense. But secondly, that's really the wrong way to go about it. If you are in an oppressed group of people, like black people in America today, it does not benefit you to put down another oppressed group of people to try to raise yourself up, especially when there's so much crossover between the two. Trans and gay African American people are probably among the most discriminated people in the country. In fact, the murder rate among black trans women is higher than any other group of people in the LGBTQ community. So to try to claim that he is somehow benefiting the black community by knocking down a good portion, a very, very vulnerable portion of that community, which is the LGBTQ and especially black trans people, that's nonsense. That's ridiculous. And in general, like, all the different oppressed groups of people need to stick together. We need to lift each other up, not knock each other down. And then when it comes to the non-oppressed group of people, which is mainly in this society the cis white hetero male, they also need to join with us and support us. We all need Asians, African Americans, Native Americans, LGBTQ, everyone, and there's a lot of crossover obviously amongst those groups. We all need to be together. So this nonsense that Dave Chapelle was a genius by knocking down gay people to rise up African Americans. No, that's just not how it works. Anyways, I am just really rambling right now. Anyways, I should just wrap this thing up. The point of all of that is that no, I'm not going to watch the whole special. And two, it is very, very harmful to the trans community. But I also kind of feel a little bit sad for Dave Chapelle. It's unfortunate that whatever it is that is ailing him is causing harm to other people. That really sucks. But I do still have a little bit of empathy for him. Now, I think would like to do a video at some point. I just talk generally about transphobia and just how it does come from a place of insecurity in general. Because why do you care? Like, why do you feel the need to spend so much time talking about trans people? Like, what is your deal? Like, why do you care so much? Transphobia in general comes from a place of insecurity. And honestly, That extends to homophobia, that extends to racism, that extends to any kind of bullying, that extends to the trolls that I used to get on my previous channel when I was presenting as a cis white hetero male. I would get trolls saying all kinds of nasty things about me. That all comes from a place of insecurity. I cannot diagnose specifically what it is. These are just ominous beings floating in the ether out there on the internet. I don't know who they are, but when you knock down other people, when you are a bully, it does come from a place of insecurity. And sometimes I'm able to have some empathy for those people. Other times I'm not at all. Sometimes I'm just like, you are cruel, evil people. But I don't think that about Dave Chapelle. Anyways, so this has been my rambly update where I've talked about myself, talked about the positive things, and then I just had to address that gorilla in the room, elephant in the room, whatever that saying is. I'm Dave Chapelle. I've completed my trans YouTuber obligation by addressing that issue. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. This is kind of the quiet before the storm. For those of you who do watch my nerdy content, I've got 2 shows coming up that I'm going to be watching and reviewing Star Trek Discovery and The Wheel of Time. I may not review every week at The Wheel of Time, but I will review Star Trek Discovery every week. And then I found out that Star Trek Prodigy is actually having a quarter season finale, and they're going to take a break, so I'll probably do a quick review of them. And then I've got big things coming in December. Hang on for my December calendar video coming toward the end of this month. December is going to be a big month for this channel. And all of that stuff. Plus, there will be another trans life update or trans issue related video that will happen in December too. So if you have not already, please subscribe. And I will see you really soon. Thank you.